Good morning, kings and queens of the land. Good morning, the royals. Good morning to the liberated zones of Africa, Burkina Faso led by President Ibrahim Traore, Mali led by President Asim Goita, Niger led by President Abdurrahman Tian. We salute the Sahel states and the Sahel lions, the Sahel people, the AES, um, brave young men for taking the motherland using the barrel of the gun, the language which the colonizer understand very well. We salute Ibrahim Traore for pointing the guns to the French army and chasing them away from Burkina Faso. We salute all of the lions in the Sahel state for pointing the gun to the colonizer. In South Africa, salute to President Jacob Gedleyihlekisa Zuma for forming the MK party in order to mobilize the ground to take over South Africa this time around, not using the armies, but using the people's power to take over South Africa. Um, my name is Mngoni Mkonto. This is the Royal Opinion. Thank you for joining. Uh, Advocate Dali who has released information, secret information about the formation of the MK party. I will, I won't waste any time. I will let him be the one who is going to talk, and you will hear more about the formation of the MK party. Ladies and gentlemen, the Dali Mpofu lecture.
Number one in corruption in South Africa. And nobody in the ANC was prepared to challenge that statement because they knew that Ramaphosa had been bought by the Stellenbosch mafia. Anyway, that conference again was the first conference where the conference did not finish. It was finished in January on Zoom. Now imagine an ANC conference finished on Zoom. So clearly there were many underhand tactics. On the 16th of January of the following year, 2023, we were now going to court for the Ramaphosa case. And Msholozi, after having come back from the conference, he went back to Johannesburg. It was at that point, I think, because that conference for him was a turning point. After going to court on that day, we went back to his house and he said he's now had time to think about what has happened to the organization, how it has now been hijacked for the second time. And he said to me, because our relationship is both legal and political, one day we'll write a book about how that relationship was formed. So I know when he's talking to me as his lawyer, and I know when he's talking to me as a comrade. And we finished those things of court, and he now was talking as a comrade. And he said, I have decided that I'm going to write a letter, an open letter to the ANC. And I'm going to detail everything that I was going to say if they had recognized my hand. I'm going to write it down, and it will be distributed to all the members of the ANC. He said, let's do a draft of that letter. He gave me, as he normally does, the points of what he was thinking. Because make no mistake, when Msholozi asks you to do a job like that, it's not you who's doing that thing. He'll tell you blow by blow all the points that he needs to be made. And then until I get when I was on this one, we can say, so that's what happened. So we started drafting that letter, open letter to the ANC. And he said to me, and I've never asked him this, he said, okay, when you finish the letter, I'm going to take it, there's somebody in KZN who's going to also look at it, and then we'll release it. I still don't know today who that person is. Now, if you've worked in the underground, you don't ask questions. If Umuntu says there is somebody I'm going to consult, you can't say Mbani Lord. Because if he wanted to tell you the name, he'll give you the name. Or when the time comes for you to know the name, you'll know the name. So that's the nature of our relationship. So I've never asked him, but I think now I'm ready to ask him. I've got 3 suspects of who that person was that he was going to consult here. And I'm sure it's one of them. Anyway, it moved until about, I think we went to court in Maritzburg, around about March, April. And I said to him, okay, the letter is ready now. As Limeziete, I'm going to give you the letter and it's going to be released. Or you'll go and consult your Muntu of KZN and then say I release. Now, if you know Msholozi, he says, Baba Sokuluma Ngalendo after court. So again, he was separating the court from the political. After court, he said, how? After I've taken my best English to write this letter, this man, who is a very wise strategist, said, no, let's wait. There's a new plan. Hey. What is the new plan now? So, to cut a long story short, the new plan was that there is nothing more that can be saved from this ANC. It was clear from the months that have moved from the December conference to about April that the ANC is gone. So that's when the plan came. So this was the plan, that by June, we're going to register a political party. Now, comrades, because you know that this thing has already happened, you don't know the impact. So me, I was shocked. I said, hey, I'm too young for this one. To keep a secret like this is too much. Zuma is leaving the ANC. So I said that to him, you want me to keep this secret that you are leaving the ANC? Wahleka. Wathi cha baba. I'm not leaving the ANC. Hey man, uthini lo baba manje? Once I go to the former organization, Ngapa Oti is not leaving the ANC. I will tell you a little bit about that later. It's one of the most misunderstood political statements. When Msholozi says, I will die as a member of the ANC, at the same time, I'm going to vote for Umkhonto weSizwe. That is pure genius. I will explain to you now. Okay. Sizayibona lento leyo ukuthi umuntu kahle kahle uthini. Right. So in June, the party was formed quietly. I think at that stage, maybe only 4 or 5 people knew about the formation of the party. So we did all the legalities before the party was formed and registered. Then, the actual registration happened in September. All that time, nobody knows what is happening. The only person that we had to share this with was Ace Mahashul. Why? In July 2023, Ace Mahashul, we were told he was going to launch a political party. So we called him to my office to say, no, don't do that. Something is coming. I can't say what is that something. Akayibona Iceland ukuthi kanjani. No, ungayilonchi party. Ngabona ukuthi no, we were with a comrade called McDonald Nseki. So akayizwa lo muntu lento. Said okay, fine, we are going to take you. We drove him all the way from Johannesburg in my car. We drove him to Maritzburg to go and meet with Ubaba so that he can hear for himself. Wafika Maritzburg, got a briefing. Kwathiwa ungayilonchi party ngoba this is the plan. What was I postponer? I think he was going to launch on the 31st of July. Our postponer ngempela. Sometime in August, I was driving to work. Ngizwa ku radio kuthiwa nangu comrade Mahashule is launching a party in Soweto. So I'm sure he will tell a story why he decided to do that. But he was the one person who was told the story for the first time before anyone else. Then in August, before the registration of the party, the president asked me to convene a meeting of the leaders of progressive organizations. And we did that. Now this was a risk. Again, if you know how the underground works, the more people you involve, the more the story is likely to leak. So that risk had to be taken. We briefed the presidents of these organizations in very great detail. I still have the document of the presentation we did to them. And we explained one of the key issues is now to unite Abantu Abamnyama. We are telling you, comrades, as the presidents and leaders of your political parties, that the strategy is going to be to go into this election. It was agreed in that meeting. I'll give you the details one day when I write a book. But it was agreed in that meeting that group of people will meet once a month until December when Mkhonto Wesizwe was going to be launched. September meeting did not take place because kwabakhona a death in the family of Nxamalala. I think that meeting was going to be on the 29th of September. So that meeting eventually took place on the 3rd of October, where again we convened the leaders of these political parties. You can imagine what was happening in that room. There was the president of the UDM, there was the president of ATM, there was the president of AZAPO, there was the president of Yonalega ACE Act. Then there was still, you remember there was an organization, Areta. The president of that, or the convener, was there. There were representatives of the African People's Congress, APC, Gakoti. And there was the deputy president and secretary general of the EFF in that meeting. Ningazi lezi story zamanje ezingamanga. We're going to come to them just now. They were all in that room and they were briefed thoroughly for something like 3 to 4 hours about the plan of uniting black people, and we gave them a presentation, slides, this is what is going to happen. Now, when the ANC lost the election, just to give you an example, the media was shocked. The one person who was not shocked was President Zuma. The people in that meeting will tell you how he analyzed the situation in South Africa. And we came to the conclusion that the ANC will be lucky to get up to even 42%. And our projection was that the ANC will get between 37% and maybe 42%. Now, those who know statistics will know that when the ANC added at 40, it means Msholozi was within the margin of error. And we said to these comrades, when that happens, there are going to be 3 blocks in South Africa. One block will be the ANC itself. The other block will be the Moonshot Pact led by the DA, the right wing. And we must form a 3rd block of progressive organizations, which at that stage we call the Patriotic Front. Now, the idea was this, comrades, that when the ANC loses power, then they must be forced to negotiate with the progressive bloc in what we call in politics a voting bloc. That means that they should not be able to speak to the UDM, the EFF, MK, and so on. They should speak to us as a group so that we can use that power. And then there was agreement in general that I was asked with Carl Niehaus to go and draft a document which will have 10 minimum demands that will unite those organizations. And so things were now moving. But here's another important thing that Msholozi's genius showed. He said before the launch of Umkhonto weSizwe, I want to see some of the key leaders, because I know people will feel threatened. They will think maybe we want to stop their organizations. And he said, I want one-on-one meetings with some of those leaders. And I went to find those people. So before the launch, he had a one-on-one meeting with Uzumbula, with ATM, Siamazi Sonke, and it. He had a one-on-one meeting with Olomisa, Siamazi Sonke. And he had a one-on-one meeting with Julius Malema. I was there. One-on-one. Again, nami sengifana nomsholozi ethi ngelinye ilanga ngisazokhuluma. But those meetings took place, and then came the very important day of the 16th. This is history, my comrade. And one day this history will be told. On the 15th of December, we sat in Hyde Park, Kwatutu, and we were now finalizing the statement that was going to be announced the following day. So I'm sure all of you saw the message. Kwathiwa kusasa kuzoba ne press conference kaMsholozi. Wayenza vele leyo press conference, made the announcement, and from that day South Africa was never the same. Now the ANC made two very important mistakes. At first, they started by ignoring that announcement. And then it was too difficult. And they said they're going to take us to court. And that's exactly what Msholozi was hoping for. Because when they went to court for the name of the ANC and the logo, they lost all those cases. But more importantly, those cases were used for mobilization, as you know, because there was no money. So the only campaign of Umkhonto was going to court in Bloomberg. Our campaign again, Umasengu Mbalula. Siyabonga kugwede nombalula yeba basizile ngoba kumkhonto wesizwe. So and then omunye wasiza futhi uJabulani Khumalo naye wasise court kwaba ngama mobilization rallies lapho. Then another very important decision. Ufuna nje ukunibonisa ukuthi umuntu ohlakaniphile esikhuluma ngaye. All of us were saying the manifesto launch of Umkhonto wesizwe must be here in KZN because this is the base, angithi. What no. A manifesto is going to be launched in Gauteng. Gauteng. And he went to launch that manifesto. You remember Orlando. That was a tactic. And as a result, after KZN, the next highest number of votes that we got in 2024 was in Gauteng. So we're dealing here with a thinker. Anyway, Africa Gama elections, kwenzekayo. Baba surprised. And then this is where the mistake really happened. Because those organizations that had been consulted at that stage allowed the ANC to deal with them one by one. Unlike what President Zuma had said should happen. Now, we said, okay, so now we have this KZN issue. Comrade Mervyn Jax was not answering that question. I can tell you now, KwaZulu-Natal is going to be ruled by Umkhonto wesizwe not in a long time. Even though they stole the votes, they were yazimauthi yantshontsha uthi utshontsha ngapha ufaka ngapha amanye nokuntshontsha ama-fruit amanye yawa ngapha ngabuyafaka. So bantshontshile kodwa we were still able to get 45-46%. Now, this is the important part, comrades. The reason why Msholozi formed this organization and the reason he called it Umkhonto wesizwe was not a mistake. Umkhonto wesizwe, this party, you must think of it in 3 different forms. There is Umkhonto wesizwe, the People's Army that was formed in 1961, and that was done to defend our people when the Boers decided to close down our organizations. So Umkhonto wesizwe, the Liberation Army, is a reference point for us. Uguti, whenever the time comes, as it was said in 1961, where there are 2 choices, submit or fight, we decide to fight. And that is what happened in 2023. So you then had Umkhonto wesizwe, the political party. That's the second form of Umkhonto wesizwe. Umkhonto wesizwe, the political party. Comrades who are sitting here, they represent us in parliament. The political party, you all know what a political party does. It has to go according to the rules of parliament and point of order and all those things. So the political party has got its own restrictions, angithi? But the most important form of Umkhonto wesizwe is Umkhonto wesizwe, the people's movement. That is a different thing from Umkhonto wesizwe, the Liberation Army, and different from Umkhonto wesizwe, the political party. This is a movement of the people. And some of the people who made Umkhonto Wesizwe don't even have membership cards, but they are, Umkhonto Wesizwe is in their hearts. And those are the people that we must worry about. It's not the MPs. It's not those of us who are in leadership positions. It's not even the councillors that we are going to put in next year. Yes, those people are important because they carry the mandate. But the most important lesson you must take from this lecture is that we have to protect Umkhonto Wesizwe, the people's movement, with everything in our heart. Every organization that has black people, we can, unions, what have you, we cannot have an organization that has black people where there's no MK person in there. So if there's a leadership contest in any structure, your job is to make sure, even if it's one, if election lako we're going to do a burial society, it's fine. It means kids and one of them must be Umkhonto Wesizwe. There's not a single structure that must not have MK. That is what we call a people's movement. Now, one of the things, I'm going to give you some quotations from Umsholozi. Some people say that this question of unity is just, some tool. Zuma is just, giving us this thing of unity. He just thought about it in 2023. No. If you follow properly what his speech is, this is what President Zuma said in 2017 when he was addressing the National House of Traditional Leaders. He said, we need to accept the reality that those who are in parliament, where laws are made, particularly the black parties, should unite because we need a 2/3 majority to effect changes to the constitution. So when former President Zuma was calling for a 2/3 majority now in 2024, he had said the same thing in 2017. It's just that, as they say, they were not listening. And he says, we can't fight over nothing and not deal with the real issues and waste time instead of creating the legal institutions to address the problems we have of inequality, poverty, and unemployment. Now, 6 years later, this is what you find in the Constitution of Umkhonto Wesizwe. It says, in their journey of colonial conquest, the white colonial settlers never encountered black people as a united opposition against colonialism. Whilst the liberation movement attempted to unite the forces of resistance from 1912, the period we're in has stratified and continues to divide black political resistance to neocolonialism. Umkhonto Wesizwe Party is therefore a political movement that seeks to unite all the anti-colonial, anti-apartheid, and anti-imperialist progressive forces to continue and complete the unfinished fight for total liberation.
This is very important history. It's very important. Black people, white people have never faced black people in unity. We've always been separated. And the ANC was formed in 1912 for the sake of uniting black people. Even today, it was not achieved. President Zuma has formed the MK party to achieve the goals that the ancestors of the black people wanted in 1912.
So what I'm saying is that the statement he made in 2017 has now been captured in the Umkhonto Wesizwe Constitution. So if you want to summarize what MK is all about, there are two legs of Umkhonto Wesizwe. It is unity in action and total liberation. Unity in action, total liberation. Unity in action, total liberation. Those two legs are the most important pillars of Umkhonto weSizwe. Because without unity in action, and we are not talking about unity that you write in pieces of paper, we talk about unity in action. And the total liberation of our people means beyond the political liberation, beyond economic liberation, beyond social liberation, beyond cultural, beyond spatial, beyond ideological, total as in total. The word total means exactly that. In every form possible, we need our liberation in total, and we need it now. And he says, the Constitution also says, decolonization must lie at the ideological center of the new struggle for the total liberation of our country, our continent, and the world. Now, some of the people here who are university students will unpack decolonization for us. This is what President Zuma said on the, I want to say there are 3 documents, if you want to understand this organization, that you must read. One is the announcement that was made on the 16th of December 2023. The second one is the document that is known as the People's Mandate. And the third one is the current constitution of MK. Can you show it up? That document, very important. Because there they capture all the things that I'm saying. Now, another myth and lie that is told about President Zuma is that he wanted to collapse those organizations that I told you about. I'm sure you've heard that story being said by certain leaders, isn't it? That we wanted to collapse their organization. That statement can only be made by somebody who doesn't know how to think. Because if you are talking about a patriotic front, what does that mean? It means it's all the organizations coming together, and it's not one organization, not a merger. It's a front of all the organizations. And therefore, it is a lie, comrades. You must tell all these people who spread that lie to say that President Zuma wanted to collapse their organizations. And here is the proof of that. He said this on 16 December 2023, and I want you to listen carefully. And you can tell me if these are the words of someone who wanted to collapse any organization. This is what he said. I call on all South Africans to join me in taking the important step and vote for the MK party and any other progressive party. Says what? So he was not saying people must only vote for MK. He was saying vote for MK and any other progressive party, including those parties who say that we wanted them to be collapsed. And he says, any other progressive party which seeks total liberation and the return of our land to its rightful owners, the African people. Listen to what he says. The task ahead requires young and older leaders alike to pull in the same direction. No single organization can pull us out of the present crisis. We require the same spirit of unity which saw us defeating the monster of apartheid. Are those the words of somebody who wanted to collapse other organizations? No. He said no single organization, not even the MK party, can get us out of this crisis. We need unity of our people. And he said the following, which covers some of the things I've said. He said, in the past few months, that was now in December. I have held several meetings with leaders of our people across the spectrum, including about 10 registered progressive political parties, with the aim of fostering the much-needed unity of the historically oppressed and dispossessed in South Africa. We are also discussing the formation of a patriotic front and a voting bloc after the people's victory in 2024 to pursue a minimum consensus program of no more than 10 points of agreement to get us out of the present crisis. The single aim is to steer the ship of total liberation from colonization back on course by uniting Africans across the country, the African continent, and the diaspora. There can never be reconciliation without socio-economic justice and equality. Again, I ask you, comrades, are those the words of someone who wanted to destroy other organizations? So these lies have been told many, many times. And we must, as foot soldiers of Umkhonto weSizwe, dispel all these lies wherever we meet them. And we must preach the idea of unity. You know what Msholos is asking of us, I think it was the president of the Youth League who said this. He wants us to be leaders and activists like him. Have you ever seen him angry with anybody? Have you ever seen him insulting other leaders? But that is a person who is focused, always listening even to some of us who know anything. And he will listen to, you can say to him, Baba, we need to rush now. If there are people who want to talk to him, he's going to say, Manaka Baba, and listen to those people. A true man of the people. And that is why people love Msholos. It's not because he has done anything, it is because they see themselves in him. And all leaders who are sitting here must aspire to be like Msholos. Because if we can even be half of what he is to our people and love this country, even half of the love that he has, then we will be free in no time. Now, the values of the MK party are in the Constitution. But I want to highlight one that really epitomizes what Msholos is about. And it is the value of unity. And as I say, he asks of us something which is very difficult. Some of us were youth leaders, in our time. So if somebody, you go for them, and who's the boss here? But Msholos says no. You must never insult other leaders. You must never insult other organizations. You must, even if they insult you, you must not retaliate. Hey, inzima hele. But we have to do it. Minaga is the chair of the disciplinary committee. I have to discipline people who break that thing. So no matter ngifuna shaya back, fanele ngizibambe kancane. So this is what it says about unity, comrades. Very important. This is the last quotation I'm going to give you. It says, MKP does not preach unity for the sake of unity, nor does it believe in paper unity only captured in formal agreements or declarations. Unity must first and foremost be aimed at concerted and concrete actions, aimed at changing the status quo for the benefit of all the people by any means necessary. While the people must enjoy total freedom of association, the progressive forces must work tirelessly to build unity among those who continue to suffer under the yoke of imperialism, colonialism, apartheid, monopoly capital, and their offshoots. The MKP must never engage in any activity that undermines the unity of progressive forces, even against the most extreme forms of provocation. This requires maximum discipline, and indeed it does. So if we can follow those prescripts, then we are halfway of being like Msholos. And we will follow the values of this organization, which are Ubuntu, unity, Pan-Africanism, democratic centralism, mandates, organic forms of representation, discipline, and knowledgeability and class consciousness. All those will require a lecture on their own. But what is important is that is what unites us and what unites all the millions of people who believe in this organization. Now, I need to end by quoting from the disciplinary code, because as the chair of the disciplinary committee, I have to say this. When we talk discipline in MK, we're not talking discipline like in school or at work. We're talking about what our constitution says. The disciplinary code must be seen as the disciplinary code must be seen as a weapon for revolutionary change. So comrades, I want you to go and digest some of these things. What do we mean when we say the disciplinary code must be seen as a weapon for revolutionary change? It is because we're fighting a war in South Africa, a war against poverty, a war against sell-out structures such as the GNU. And we need soldiers. You are the soldiers. It is not the leadership. It is not the president who's going to change this country. It is the people of South Africa. And it is each one of you, those of you who have the discipline to sit here and try to understand this organization, those who have the discipline to read the literature of the organization, and to be able tomorrow to give a lecture like this in your own settings. And for that, you don't need to have to even speak English. You should be able just to be able to understand the organization, so that ma abantu bekhuluma amanga about umsholozi or about the organization, you are able to say, oh, this is what this organization is about. It is not about that. If umuntu ufuna ukulwela izikhundla, you must be able to say to them, this is not what this organization is about. It's not about mina. It's about the people of this country. And it is about liberating our people who have been under the yoke of imperialism for almost 400 years, who have fought so many wars. And the weapon of unity, I want to end on that note, is not a small thing, Makaban. Unity of our people is the biggest weapon we can have in this fight we're facing now. Amabhunu, they fought in a war against the English, the Afrikaners, what are called the Afrikaners today. They were called Boers. They fought a bitter war from 1898 to 1902. About 30,000 British soldiers were killed in that war. 20,000 Boers were killed. And even some of our people died in that war. That is how much they hated each other, those people. But they decided in 1902, ukuthi silwelane bantu bakithi. Let us unite. Unity. In 1902, the Afrikaners and the English signed a treaty called the Treaty of Vereeniging. And they decided ukuthi izikhali bazibeka phansi. And for the next 6 years, they were crafting a unity position. In 1909, they formed something called the Union of South Africa, with the two Boer republics of Orange Free State and Transvaal, and Natal and Cape Province, bazihlanganisa to form one thing against all of us. Despite all those deaths, they decided if we unify and we unite, we will go far. And from that date until today, because of what? They managed to unite. The ANC was formed in 1912 as a reaction to the Union of South Africa. Because our people said, if these people are uniting against us and they are taking our land, let's unite. That is when they came up with that song, Eti Mzulu, Xhosa, Msuthu, Hlanganani. Because we said, if they can unite, let's also unite. And so the ANC was formed for the return of our land. But Ramaphosa's ANC has deviated from that original mission. So that is what President Zuma is saying. So when he says he's a member of the ANC, he means he's not a member of the ANC of Ramaphosa that has sold out, but a member of the original ANC. And you cannot expect, comrades, think about it. If you joined an organization at the age of 17, you know he had to lie about his age because he's joining age maybe 18. So what joined at the age of 17, went on to become a soldier of Umkhonto weSizwe. As I've already said, spent 10 years on Robben Island for ANC activities, went into exile, became a leader of the ANC with no comparison. And to see that organization being bought by Rupert and them in 2017 and being turned into a monster by Ramaphosa, you can imagine. That is why at the age of 83, some of us at the age of 83 will be sitting in an old age home. But Msholozi has decided to sacrifice himself for us to be free. And as we enjoy. So, my comrade, when we say happy birthday, 83rd birthday to Msholozi, we must do that without that understanding. Uguti, a person of this age who has done it all, he has been a president of this country. This is a person who has already been a president. So when he wakes up in the morning, it's not for his kundla. It is to free you and me and millions of our people. Now that's what it means to be a revolutionary. A revolutionary is not somebody who's thinking about themselves. Yes, you can have a position. Yes, you must have leaders. But if the first thing you think of in the morning is Uguti, hey, so that then you are in the wrong organization. It means you must not be in Umkhonto weSizwe. And I must leave you with this message, which Ubaba wants everyone to understand. This organization is not the ANC. If we wanted to form the ANC or a branch of the ANC, we would have formed a branch of the ANC. So if you come here with the tendencies of our Gogo, if there is one thing that will not be allowed, comrades, is anybody who wants to turn this organization into the ANC of factions, backstabbing, money-making, corruption. So the message is clear, comrades. Umkombandlela is very clear. If when you came here for Iskunda or for Uruti, Utole counselor or whatever, then I have some advice for you. Uveleje batobotsotsi ungajampisi uvele uhambe kancane. Nathi ngeke sijampise sonke ngathi asikubo uhambe ubuyele la uvela khona la kumkhonto wesizwe. This is about the people of South Africa. Futhi asiwafuni amagwala la kumkhonto wesizwe. Asibafuni abantu akuthiwa ngabohlohle sakhe abafuna ukuzodlalana kuphela. Kufuneka amasoja azowuthatha umkhonto avikele isizwe sase South Africa, avikele isizwe sase Africa esicindezelwe for more than 350 years ngamabhunu. That is what this organization is about. Asizanga ukudlala la. If we don't respect an 83-year-old man who has sacrificed everything for our freedom, Tina, sibe sidlala ukuthi hayi lo kuzongena bani kuzongena mina I'm the high commander or small commander. Ayikho leyo nto. We have to make sure that we take power in this country as soon as possible. And the road to power, comrades, is through this province. The road to power, it means we must take a eThekwini next year and we must take KZN as soon as possible. I was addressing a meeting yesterday and I was saying that, you know, Abelung, when mabefuna ukuzwa kamnandi, they go to Western Cape. Ngoba lapha bacabanga ukuthi bayithathile Western Cape, but I won't tell you a secret. Msholozi has got a secret weapon for Western Cape, but ningabatsheli. Akungeke kube khona indawo la eSouth Africa kuthiwa indawo yabelungu. It will never happen. But before we take out that plan, we want to turn this province must be the liberated zone of black people. So I just want to see black people I think and just spend the weekend in our liberated zone. Indawo yethu la sophumula khona, so that masikhathi South Africa masibangathi basokolisa, we retreat to KZN sizoplana futhi. And it's all in your hands, comrades. We must take this province as soon as possible. And they know that. That's why Lagum Konjo, my favorite song, ile eti niyawabona lamasela ayatatazela, ayatatazela, ayatatazela.
This is the people's advocate. The people's hero here, talking not as the advocate of the people, talking the politics of the MK party, how the MK party was established. This is very, very important history of South Africa, which has just been added by Advocate Dali Mpofu, the liberator, one of the greatest South African who ever existed, Advocate Dali Mpofu. I can tell the secret that President Zuma has about the Cape Town is going to unite the Western and the Northern Cape and the Eastern Cape to become one province. Because the reason it was separated is so that when it's time for voting, the Western Cape is separated more. There's more white people in the Western Cape than anywhere else. So when President Zuma unite the Cape, black people will be able to take over the Western Cape and control it. Click the like button and subscribe to the Royal Opinion. Thank you very much for joining the live stream.